So you want to know what it was like being a Victorian chimney sweep? Well, grab your tiny brush and prepare for the most glamorous career path a 6-year-old could dream of. Spoiler alert, it wasn't great. But hey, at least you got to see the inside of chimneys, which is also not great. First, let's talk about how you landed this prestigious position. And by landed, I mean were sold into by your desperately poor parents for about 5 shillings. That's right. Your parents basically traded you for the Victorian equivalent of a fancy sandwich. But don't worry, your new master sweep promised to teach you a valuable trade. That trade? Fitting into spaces that would make a sardine claustrophobic. The ideal chimney sweep was between 4 and 10 years old. Why? Because Victorian chimneys were built with the aerodynamics of a drunk snake, and only small children could navigate them. Adults tried using brushes on ropes, but apparently that was too practical and didn't traumatize enough children. Your master sweep was technically supposed to feed you, clothe you, and teach you to read. In reality, you got gruel, rags, and the ability to read the room when your master was in a bad mood. Your workday started at around 4 a.m. Why so early? Because nothing says good morning like inhaling soot before the sun comes up. You'd walk through the streets yelling sweep. Sweep, which was the Victorian version of advertising. Very catchy, really rolls off the tongue when you've got lungs full of coal dust. Once you arrived at a fancy house, the real fun began. You'd strip down to basically nothing because clothes would get stuck in the chimney. So now you're a naked, terrified child about to climb into darkness. Living the dream, your master would shove you up the chimney, and I do mean shove, with a brush strapped to your back. The chimney was pitch black, filled with soot, often still warm from last night's fire, and roughly the width of a paper towel tube. Oh, and sometimes there were dead birds in there. Surprise! If you got stuck, which happened constantly, your master had several motivational techniques. Yelling encouragement, by which I mean threats, poking you from below with a stick, or, and this is my personal favorite, lighting a small fire beneath you to encourage upward movement. Nothing says workplace safety like being literally smoked out like a ham. Now let's talk about the amazing health benefits of this career. You got a deep tan. Sure, it was made of soot permanently embedded in your skin, but hey, sun damage was worse, right? Right? You developed an incredible immune system, mainly because it was constantly fighting respiratory infections, but still counts. And if you survived long enough, you might develop chimney sweeps cancer, which is exactly what it sounds like. Turns out, climbing naked through carcinogenic soot causes testicular cancer. Who knew? Spoiler, doctors knew. They knew in 1775. Nobody cared. You'd also develop chronic cough, deformed joints and spine from crawling, burns, alopecia of the soot, which is a fancy way of saying your hair fell out. But at least you weren't working in a factory. Oh wait, that was also children. Never mind. When you weren't working, which was rare, you got to sleep, usually in the cellar, often in the same sacks used to collect soot. Very cozy, very hygienic. Bath time? What's that? Water cost money. You were basically a walking charcoal briquette. The Victorian public loved chimney sweeps, though. They were considered good luck. People would rub your filthy head for fortune. You were like a mascot, except you couldn't quit and go home. Rich people would hire you for weddings because a sweep was supposed to bring prosperity. So you'd show up covered in soot, smelling like a coal mine, and everyone would be like, "Aw, how charming," while staying at least 6 feet away. Some sweeps even performed acrobatics in the streets to earn extra money. Because why not add street performer to your resume when you're already child labor and walking health hazard? So how did you escape this wonderful career? Option 1, you got too big to fit in chimneys anymore. Congratulations. You aged out at the ripe old age of 12. Now you could become a master sweep yourself and traumatize the next generation. The circle of soot continues. Option 2, you died. Morbid, but statistically likely. Causes included getting stuck and suffocating, falling, being burned, various diseases, or just general being a Victorian child causes. Option 3. Some pesky reformers actually started caring about child welfare. Charles Kingsley wrote The Water Babies in 1863, which was basically, what if we didn't torture children for clean chimneys? Lord Shaftesbury pushed for legislation. The first Chimney Sweeps Act passed in 1834, but nobody enforced it because money was more important than children. Classic. It wasn't until 1875 that they actually banned the practice and started enforcing it. That's right, it took 40-plus years of, hey, maybe don't shove kids up chimneys before anyone listened. So there you have it. Life as a Victorian chimney sweep. A thrilling career combining child labor, respiratory disease, cancer, and the occasional wedding appearance. The good news? We eventually invented brushes on extension rods that worked just fine. Turns out, you didn't need to sacrifice children to the soot gods after all. Who would have thought? Next time you complain about your job, just remember, at least your boss probably doesn't light fires under you when you're moving too slowly. Probably. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed learning about Victorian Britain's bold stance of child welfare can wait. These chimneys won't clean themselves. And remember, the past is a terrible place. Don't go there.